Good morning. How close is the end? That one guy. So we'll talk about that. Or we could. I've got a new background. No more distracting, blurry, generic green screen, non-green screen virtual background. So tell me how you guys like it. If you don't like it, tough, because this is how I'm doing it for a minute. I don't have the picture of my beautiful X truck behind me, but hey, whatever. It gives the family privacy and allows me to do this background, allows me to do my podcast without the. I know some people said that the whole virtual screen is distracting. So we'll see. We'll see how you guys like. We'll see how the analytics like it. So maybe you guys don't have a voice anyways, right? So, anyways, good morning. I hope all is well. It's Monday, February 8th. And, wait, no, that's not right. I'm looking at January's calendar. February 5th. Gosh, I'm kind of an idiot. All right. Yeah, February 5th. Some of you are like, what, the 8th? No. So I got to change that calendar. So, not a lot going on. We can check the weather here real quick. I know that there's some freezing fog warnings out. And I know that the west is all messed up. It's all jacked up. I don't have a whole lot of drivers out west. Or I say I, but we, like trucking doesn't have. So I've got a couple on their way out there. And we're working on something for rig runners. Rig runner, not rig runners. And see if that happens. But anyways, we'll get the map up here. So good morning. I hope all is well. I know I keep saying that, but I truly mean that because, if you're miserable and, you make everybody else miserable. So don't be that person. I know that's easy to do and it's the more fun thing to do, but maybe it's not the most productive thing to do. Let's see what else. Let's go over the weather here real quick. I don't have much to say. There's a bunch of news going on, but I'm not Asian Mai, so I don't really keep up with a whole lot of that. I probably should. I know Pale Rider was keeping up for a minute, but he's been going through some stuff, so he hasn't been on top of it like he was. And that's where I was getting my news from, really. There were some articles I sent him, and there's some articles that I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that, kind of thing. And we'll take a look in the market. We'll see what's going on. I'm not sure. It's hard to say what the rates are doing because pretty much the trucks that I'm dispatching right now need specific things, so I'm not looking at the whole market. So that's what it is. Turn this up a little bit. But anyways, that's what's going on. So, all right. So man, if you're in Nevada, central northern Arizona, and most of, if not all, California, you're dealing with some weather. A lot of snow, winter warnings going on in Nevada. And so you got to deal with that. And then up here, you got freezing fog up here in the upper Midwest. The Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, parts of Iowa, most of Minnesota. You're dealing with some freezing fog. So be careful. I've dealt with that freezing fog, and there's really not much you can do because it's like, it's not raining or snowing, but then, that bridge is still slick because the fog said, hey, I'm going to freeze this for a minute. So just be careful up there. So yeah, that's what's going on with the weather. And then we'll take a look at the low boards. So not much going on. I've got a few outside of dispatch things going on to deal with. And I got to do my invoicing. I have to do I guess that's something that's new. I've been going to the gym. I have a gym membership now, so I'm sure you guys care about that. I've lost over 100 pounds just by changing my diet. Let's see what else I can do. Let's see if I can make it better. So, all right, Greg Zimmer, what's up? Good morning. How are you, my friend? I haven't talked to you in a minute. Greetings from Tulsa. Are you going to come through Springfield? If you're sitting there hanging on 44, if you are, we need to do lunch. Rock and Van Life, what's up in the trucking world? Coffee time. Gen Z trucking, morning. Baby only woke us up 3 times last night. Success. That gets a little bit easier in a way. I don't, there's a part of you that misses when the kids are little, and then there's another part of you that's like, man, I'm so glad they're kind of grown up because now they're not waking me up every 3 hours, and they're not, I'm not cleaning up toys all the time, that kind of thing. But enjoy this time, and it'll eventually get better. They usually start sleeping through the night. So that one guy, he's referencing, I believe, how close is the end? Well, the end of what? The end of trucking? The end of trucking is never going to happen. The end of the world? It's only for God to decide. And the end of the rope? Well, that depends on each individual. Pigtail, good morning. What's up? Gary Cook, good morning. My name is Nobody, good morning. Almond Chimera, it's a cold. Looks, yes, windows frosted up. Yep. Shannon, good morning. Shannon says, Faith is in the hospital in labor. Wow. Are you at home? Are you in the hospital? Are you hanging out? What are you doing? So, question, Rock and Van Life question, was there ever a time there was not a place missed up for trucking weather-wise? Actually, yeah. Every now and then I'll open this map up, and there's nothing going on. Now, they had a bunch of tornadoes and stuff for the weekend in Georgia and Florida there. I think Valdosta, they had some footage of a tornado going across the road or all that stuff. But no, this time of year, no, you're absolutely right. It's usually pretty quiet, or usually pretty active, not quiet. But I didn't do a whole lot of running out west. I mean, when I was a company driver, I did a lot of Salt Lake runs, but they were primarily in the spring and summer and maybe late fall because, Wyoming wasn't doing its thing. And even though I was light, I didn't have any issues. And then I didn't have to ever chain up. I had chains on my truck, but I never had to chain up. And then when I was at Landstar, I went out to Boise one time with the load. I picked up a load from Laredo, delivered in Boise, and that got me caught up with everything I was behind since I had just bought my Peterbilt. And that was a good load. And then I ended up deadheading 300 miles to grab some chips going down to Phoenix. Let's see what else. That was it. I didn't do any. I didn't go out west with like trucking. There were a few times where I was tempted to go to Phoenix, but because I got family out there, but never did. So because the rates coming out, the rates going into Phoenix never justified the rates coming out. So I was like, you know what? I'm just better off doing the short game. So my name is Nobody, says Prayers Shannon, in Atlanta waiting for a 6 a.m. pickup. Well, they're running late, aren't they? Scorpion Trucker, good morning, everyone from Minnesota, getting it done out here. Cheers. Be careful out there. You're dealing with some freezing fog out there, Scorpion. And Scorpion had a decent, not a decent, but a good workout video. I've met Scorpion. He's a good dude, and he's physically fit. He's out there getting it done. So we've got a few drivers that concentrate on fitness. We got a couple that utilize Planet Fitness, and Scorpion, he does his workouts outside of the truck. And this time of year it's hard to do. So if you got some good weather, you take advantage of it. Jackknife says, congratulations on the diet. Yeah, it's kind of old news. Thank you. It's old news. Um, Here's the thing: a lot of drivers say, "Well, I'll lose weight once I get off the road." And their desire is to get off the road. So when I set out to do that, I made sure that I did it as a driver. In other words, I wanted to prove that you can lose weight on the road as a driver, and I did it with very little exercise, and I did it strictly through 100% diet, utilizing the tools that were in front of me. Now I was pretty blessed. I had some tools in the truck, as far as like I had a crock pot, microwave, and a Hot Logic Mini. Hot Logic Mini is very mess free. It's basically a pan that heats up like a crock pot, but it's a rectangular dish. You heat it up. I threw a couple of frozen burgers in the morning when I took off, and then by the time I was shut down, it was there. It wasn't dried out. It wasn't overcooked, and it was perfect. And utilized the microwave. I utilized Walmart when I could. There was that Myers there in Ohio off of 70 that I would utilize on getting food. If I was delivering at a Sam's Club store, which I did quite a bit, I had a Sam's membership, and I would go in there and grab things. So but I also did it. It's not as healthy as eating clean, but you can also do it with convenience store and truck stop and restaurants and stuff. There are ways that you can order that food to make it better. So, if you follow me on Instagram, you can find my transformation photographs. So, just put @Snorelord on Instagram. I'm there. Getting unloaded in South Carolina. Is it nice there? Snorelord, are you hitting the squat rack? I need a place to set my beer. No, my knees are too weak for squats. So, Truck with T-Bone, good morning. What is your favorite lift? Butterfly, squat, bench. I was told that butterfly is not, that there's better exercise than that. And then I've been doing the machines, not the free weights. So it's not like I'm going in there for hours and bench pressing or anything like that. I'm just basically trying to become stronger, and so I do a combination of 4 machines working different areas, 4 machines working different areas, and then a treadmill. So my signal sucks, so you guys have to. No rowing machine. No one seems to have the booking number that starts with a 15. Any chance you know it's Snorelord? No. Try 157823842. Try that one. Jackknife TV. I lost 37 pounds on Snorelord based keto change and eating. Yep, and it took me 2 years of talking to Pigtail, and he saw results. Both him and his wife saw results, so that's great. Chief Freight Hauler, good morning. I almost say good afternoon for some reason. Pop Tart, what's up? Burger wrapped in lettuce. Yeah, there's a lot of like, for a while there's a lot of the keto people that would tell you, like, they understand that you travel or whatever. So they were like, okay, at this restaurant, order these things. At this restaurant, order these things. At this restaurant. So they had one for Taco Bell. They got one for Chipotle. They got one for Arby's. They got, all this stuff. And it's good in a pinch. It depends on how much stuff you're trying to avoid. If you're trying to avoid dextrose or maltodextrin and that kind of stuff, it gets a little bit more difficult. But if you just want to change from the processed carbs, it's fairly easy to do. It's all mental. Pop-Tart gone trucking Money Monday. That's a good way to look at it. Nice enough for the window to be down. There you go. You gotta like that. I always got annoyed when I'm sitting there at a shipper, receiver, or truck stop, and it's like 65 degrees. It's like beautiful. It's like, I open the windows up, and then somebody's got to park next to you and put their truck in high idle. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, it's nice out. Now, I understand when company drivers do it because they're not paying for the fuel, so they may not be thinking fuel efficiency or whatever. But man, get some fresh air in that truck. It probably needs it. But but when I see owner operators do it, it's like, then they complain about fuel prices and they complain about their fuel mileage in their truck. Well, maybe don't put your truck in high idle when it's 65, 70 degrees, while you're sitting at the dock for 2 hours. How about that? So uh, cheap freight hauler getting loaded for Houston. Good luck. My brand new truck is tore down all in pieces. Well, that's what they do. That's what they do. So, all right. Let's go to 123 low board. Let's take a look and see what the market's doing. We'll poke around and see what kind of loads we can get here today. Scorpion truck, it still happens out here. I don't get it either. It's yeah, it's it's not like I've been out of the truck for years and years. It's I figured it's going to happen till the end of time. So, what's interesting is that CDN's always thinking about maybe the shippers and receivers need to be held more accountable for the lack of efficiency. And so I'm thinking like California, right? California, like we got all these emissions and everything else, but yet the shippers, especially like refrigerated, if the shippers are taking 10, 12, 14 hours to load and the truck's got to have the reefer running all that time, that leaves a carbon footprint, doesn't it? So if the more efficient everybody can become, you'll have the green effects that you need, that you're looking for, but no one's efficient. So that's the problem. Same thing with the traffic congestion in the bigger cities. Why does that happen? Well, because there's not enough road for the amount of vehicles. And so what happens? These vehicles have got to go slower. They got to sit there idling inside, on the interstate or whatever. And that's probably a big imprint. So instead of changing the symptom, change the problem that causes the symptoms. So Russell Freight Services on my way to Joplin, Missouri. Good deal. Are you going to hit the I-44, Iowa 80 there on I-44? Are you going to hit the Petro? Grab a bunch of chrome you don't need? There is a great coffee place in there, Caribou Coffee. Good coffee. And I think it's one of the few that still have iron skillet left, I believe. I could. My brand new truck's probably pulled all apart in pieces too. Been waiting on the part now for almost a week. What are you getting replaced or repaired? Yep. Cool. You're going to buy some chrome? Excellent. I didn't put much chrome on my truck. I put the chrome nut covers on. I did have the hubcaps. I did buy the chrome fender, but I didn't buy them in Joplin. The chrome fender deals, and that's it. I didn't really go all out. Now, I did buy cool lights, but that's about it. That's about all I did. For my Peterbilt, I like the internal light. I like having this internal light be red, so if I need to find something, I can do it without brightening the whole thing. It was cool to do during. I didn't do a whole lot of live feeds. If I'm repeating myself, it's because the signal keeps coming out. So, all right. So let's take a look at load availability. So I do have some news about mats. I believe Thunder and 123 are not showing up at mats this year. So I don't know if I'll be going or not. Jeff is working on a few things. All right. Sorry. This signal is really switchy here. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see what Jackknife's saying. The power distribution center, the PDC, which essentially is the fuse box, but you know they're all tied in with the CAN system, network junked and whatnot. That sounds expensive and unfortunate. Pop Tart says we removed the head gasket, radiator fan, oil pan, manifold, turbo one box, EGR cooler. It's just a block in a cab sitting on the frame. Wow. Let's see. How did you manage to get them to cover that, if I might ask? That might be a good question. I use Philips Hue lighting in my truck. Using Alexa, I can tell it 25% red in front, 50% red in sleeper. That's kind of neat. That's interesting. Wow, that's cool. I like the lights on the inside of the cab. So I didn't get fancy with the inside lights in my cab of my truck, though. So I don't know. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in that sleeper. I mean, I did, but I didn't. Right? It's I wasn't living in it months at a time, or even weeks at a time. I was home pretty much every weekend or every other weekend. That was how I ran. Maybe 2 weekends in a row I would stay out, to catch things up, and then I would take it easy after that. That's just how I ran. All right, so let's see, reefer van. Let's take a look at van. Let's see what's going on. There's the info if you guys are looking for it. All right, so let's see what's coming out of. Let's take a look at Ohio. Let's see what kind of loads we're getting out of Ohio today. Sort by pickup date. See what kind of last minute stuff we got going on. So we got 304 a mile to go Akron to Dalton, Georgia. Wow. Track Logistics. That's a new broker I haven't seen. Oh, and the reason why 123 isn't showing up at Matt's this year is they're concentrating more on the brokers side because they recognize that they need more volume. So they're concentrating their efforts. So obviously this is a load that someone probably dropped off, so they're trying to cover it. And they're 18. Cargo Chief's got it 1732, 25,000 pounds. Tank endorsement is important. Man, this signal is really, it's angering me. So that's a good load, and it lands you in Dalton, Georgia. Now, Dalton, you're going to struggle to get out rate-wise. Let's take a look at that, though. Let's take a look at Dalton, Georgia, back up to Ohio. Let's say you want to go back and forth. So there's 31 loads available. Let's take a look. Now, at this point, we're going to do the highest rate. Yeah, $1.73. You can probably get them up a little bit more than that. Duluth, Georgia, 71-mile deadhead to Findlay, Georgia. Or you can go to Chattanooga with less deadhead. Oh, that's hazmat, so we don't want that. That's kind of a bad rate for hazmat. Let's see, Findlay, plated van, so that's going to be probably empty cans. Yeah, $72.88. Or insulation. And here's a load for 7 cents a mile. Be a typo. They meant to say 500, not $50. They're probably going to wonder why they can't get the load moved. Click on the new loads. There's the new load. Conyers, Georgia to Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, $1.24. So you're going to struggle a little bit to get rates out of there. So that 305. So if you can get 304 to go in or 305 and then grab, $1.80 coming out, going right back to Ohio, you're going to do all right in those, how many days is this? 5 nights. So 2 days. So a little bit more than that, probably 2.5 days because you got the deadhead and all that to deal with. So not a bad deal. It keeps you out of the weather if there's any coming. Let's see. But then if you want to go to another good freight area, they're looking at only $1.87. So let's see if that Track Logistics. Let's see if they're pre-approved by Thunder. Thunder's got a new app, by the way, that we're testing out. It's pretty cool. Yeah, they're pre-approved. So 94 credit score A with Thunder. 94, 27 days to pay on trans credit. So they're at 1,000 on this. Aurora to Sheboygan, $2.15 a mile is the norms. That's only $97 more. Looking at a 9-hour trip. Let's see. Yeah, make sure it's not taking you through the inside of the lake there. So that's not a bad run for a day. $1,000 a day. Can't, and you're in a good freight market. So if you can go Wisconsin to Ohio and back and forth, yeah, you're dealing with that Chicago traffic a lot. But man, if you can do $1,000 a day, man, there's no point of doing the long distance stuff other than being annoyed by Chicago. Let's see, Blue Ash, Ohio to Lansing. That's short. A lot of short haul stuff going up here. Here's Brooklyn Heights, Ohio to Waterbury, Connecticut. Let's take a look at that. They're not posting a rate on there. They're hoping that you're going to price it low. See, that's the thing. If you don't see a posted rate, a lot of people avoid those loads, and I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but you can't be scared of non-posted rates. I mean, because yeah, they want you to set the anchor, but 9 times out of 10 when you call, like if I call on this load, I guarantee you that I'm going to be like, hey, I'm looking at your load going to Brooklyn Heights, Ohio to Waterbury, Connecticut, and they're going to go, well, what are you looking to be at? After they give me the details, of course, if they give me the details. And I'm like, well, do you have a rate in mind? I'm sure that you've got I try to let them set the anchor. And if I have to do it, I'll shoot high, because we all done that load where we shoot a decent rate and they took it immediately. Like, oh crap, I probably could have gotten more for that. That's a natural reaction. So don't be afraid to set it high, but not so high that they hang up on you. Like I wouldn't call this dude, like Cargo Chief's got this at 1576. I wouldn't call him and say I need $3,000, or don't never double the number unless it's really something stupid like Brooklyn or something like that, which which your cost. But if you know your cost, I mean, let's take a look here. Is there any tolls? Yes, toll cost is $20. But it says profit is $2.19 a mile and $11.44 a day going off of that rate. So at any rate, knowing this number is important. That's where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to use free low boards. That's fine. I get it if you're trying to shave costs, but if you don't know how to price loads, then you got to know at least the ballpark. You got to know that you can't get $3 a mile coming out of Denver off the spot market or out of Miami. You got to know that kind of stuff. And if you're new to the spot market, you need tools like this to kind of help you, guide you, and at least make you go, well, I'm not going down to Miami if I can't get a good rate out of there. So anyways, you guys been commenting like crazy. So you guys can stare at that map while we go over some comments here. I can also tell it to go to bright white if I'm doing a video. I only stay out 2 weeks at a time. Good deal. You got it going on, sounds like. Pop-Tart, got to go. Got to do something by my shop. They need me to go in the way. Bye. Pigtail, I got a hold of the regional service manager and stayed at my case, and then also showed the previous problems they had with the PDC. They put out service bulletins for them going bad in 2019. Think of all the money that you're paying for that truck too. I'm late, but good morning from Hutchinson, Kansas. Good deal, Mr. Charles. Good morning. Still end up having to pay about $700 in labor and diagnostics. I find it astounding that 80% of the truck is out of warranty after a year. Well, whose fault is that, Jackknife? I'm going to pick on you again because you like being picked on. Did you not go over the warranty information before you bought that truck? Because I know people that bought new trucks and they got like Shannon's warranty is pretty killer. Steve Berger, if you follow him on YouTube, his warranty is pretty killer, and they made sure that was that way. You know, Jeff, when he purchased that International to put Shannon in it, he made sure that warranty was going to cover her for the entire term of the loan on everything. Now, is it a little bit more costly to do that? Yes, but that's how you have to negotiate. And, you know, and people give Schneider Finance a lot of grief, but Schneider Finance, in my experience, from people I've talked to, they put a killer warranty on those trucks. You know, an old acquaintance, he blew his engine, and the warranty paid it. You know, $60,000 worth of work was paid. Now, it didn't pay for his hotel. It didn't pay for his downtime, but at least he wasn't having to shell out $60,000. You know, because at that point he probably should have just got a new truck. But that was the warranty that Schneider put on that truck. So you know, the warranty is all in your control. So where warranties get sketchy is if you pay for the service and then it doesn't pay for something, then there's a problem there. And most of the time, if you got to take them to court or whatever, you need to know your contract inside and out. So you got to do your homework when you're shopping for trucks. Shopping for trucks is not like shopping for a car. You got to do your homework, and you got to read the fine print that's underneath the fine print. So about the only thing that's covered now is the engine, transmission, and drivetrain, which if this was on an older truck, I wouldn't be so worried about. Now, here's the thing, though. That DPF system is what's going to kick your ass. That DPF system, if it's not under any kind of warranty, that's what's gonna break you. Because imagine doing $20,000 worth of DPF repairs that aren't under warranty with the truck payment that you have. Yeah, ticking time bomb right there, my friend. So, and it's hard to build up that maintenance money with the truck being down with warranty issues. So now when the digital dash goes bad or some odd sensor or whatnot, I'm going to have like $10,000 bills coming out for a truck that's 1 year old. See, you put yourself in that position. You did that. And you didn't take that into consideration when you bought that truck? When it was another truck that put your authority out, that put you out of business? You got to be smarter when you go shopping for trucks. CDN, good morning, Steve. Nice change up on the background. We wind for me today. Thank you. Oster says a major player like 123 not showing up to match just gives the complete wrong public image. I think people are likely to think they're in trouble financially. Well, that's a good point, Oster. So I think they are doing trade shows, just not mats. So they recognize that they need more volume. I have a lot of people that's like 123 is awesome, but they need more volume, and that's what they're trying to concentrate their efforts on. So, and you know, and trade shows are expensive. You know, so I've seen Thunder dump a lot of money into what they do. Many operators believe new equipment is a panacea, however you say that, and the bumper to bumper has them covered. No. Thanks, Pigtail. It means a lot considering I have codename Narc and Sage starting crap with me now. Let's see. Sage is or can be opinionated. Wouldn't take it personal. Sage is very knowledgeable but can be aggressive, says Pigtail. Excuse Sorry. Speaking of Sage, what is the head guy at 123? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but it's Lauren, so he's like on their website. You can talk to him. He's got a YouTube channel in the whole 9 yards. Okay, it must be 8 o'clock. My YouTube is going nuts. What are you using to see tolls? So 123's got a toll calculator. So let's take a look at a loadout coming out of PA here. And let's take this Northumbria to Union, New Jersey. Let's take a look at that. If it will load. I apologize for the speed of my internet. So there's a toll calculator on this side. This has no toll cost. So the other thing you can do is we can do, you go over here to the side and use rate check. So let's do Springfield, Missouri to Mechanicsburg, PA. I know that lane. I've done that lane many, many times. So let's do Springfield, Missouri. Missouri to Mechanicsburg. If I can learn how to spell Mechanicsburg. There we go. Got it for van, get rate. So this shows a toll cost of $215.50. And it shows you the route. You're taking basically 44 to 70 to 76, and then cutting across the Pennsylvania Turnpike until you get to Mechanicsburg. I've done this run. I know every nook, cranny, parking place, every pothole on this road. I spent many years going back and forth on this route with heavy loads as a company driver. And so I know that the first time I had to do it, they didn't have a toll pass for me yet, so I had to pay cash. I believe at the time in 2009, it was $165 to go all the way across with a heavy load. Now that same run is $215. Estimated fuel costs at 6 miles per gallon. So you put any, and then you can also do there's also a feature to do your mileage calculator. So let's do current location to Mechanicsburg, PA. Calculate. See, and it gives me a toll breakdown here too. So it'll actually give me kind of a layman's IFTA report here. 170 miles in Illinois, 157 miles in Indiana, 212 miles in Missouri, 229 miles. So you've got all kinds of cool tools, and then it'll give you the route info, either Google Maps or PC Miler. So now if you want to go alternate routes, then you got to put different cities in that you're going to put in your route. So it's a good tool. Now, there are toll calculator apps out there, but I've never used them because for the most part, I avoided tolls. Now, Oklahoma is primarily the same. They raise it up $1 every year. But for the most part, I didn't do a whole lot of tolls. Oklahoma, Kansas is not a big deal. If I was on Ohio on 80, I just paid the toll. But normally I didn't drive 80 a whole lot as an owner-operator. So that's what I use. Pigtail says, keep her head up, Kevin. You're a good dude. He is. He's misguided. Jack Knife, you make a blanket statement about brokers and ask for opinions, so I have you mine, and you got your feels hurt. So 22 Pete has 6-year warranty on all major components. Good deal. DPF didn't plan fire. That's funny. I'm in Alabama getting loaded to deliver Michigan Wednesday morning, so you'll be able to see that grandbaby. After treatment, at least for the main component, is covered for 5 years or 500,000 miles, but it's basically a gray area for sensors, wiring, whatnot. Plus, they misdiagnose constantly, right? Which is why when they bought an expensive truck like that. Jackknife, talk to your dealers, see if they have a chassis warranty you can buy that will cover wiring harnesses. Yes, your wiring harness will go out. I think mine was on the verge of giving me the bird. I know that Steve Berger had the same year and model truck I had, and his went out, and it cost him a pretty penny to replace. So, he had pretty much the same exact truck I did, just a different color. Same miles, same purchase price, everything. So, you have 1 year from in-service to buy extended warranties, but they can make an exception since you're barely over the year. Yeah, I mean, when those factory warranties wear out, you want to get the extended warranty before they run out, because if not, what they'll do is they'll have you dyno your truck. And then they'll go over with a fine-tooth comb because they don't want to spend a whole lot of money on that truck either. So just keep that in mind. Good morning, Snorelord. Have you heard anything about the I-80 through Wyoming? Heard it was shut down. Yeah, it was not looking good. So let me get this up on the map here. So let's take a look at. Oh, I got the wrong thing up here. Okay. There's my layers. There's my layers. We want traffic. All right. All right, so let's get this back on the screen. It feels like I'm moving in slow motion. There we go. I don't know if I need a new Wi-Fi card in the computer or a Wi-Fi extender. So it's going to scroll out and look at Denver. Or not Denver, I-80. All right, so give it a minute. A lot of times road closures take a second for it to kind of report. Right now it looks open. But, I mean, this is just traffic, right? So I would check Wyoming's website, but because it might be closed to trucks. Or it might be closed to light trucks. So I know this looked worse yesterday because I was talking to a friend that was trying to visit her dad out in Wyoming, and they've been monitoring I-80, and they just can't catch a break. So, but it looks like you're clear. If you zoom in, it's just yellow. So, but I would check Wyoming's site. So that's what I would do. I remember constantly explaining to brokers that the Pennsylvania Turnpike ain't exactly cheap, and you get the same response. That's all I have in it, or the toll's already calculated in for the rate. Yeah, that's why. I mean, you had no choice because you lived up there, but that's why I primarily didn't run it. Do you negotiate tolls? I mean, yeah, you try to. I mean, I've negotiated tolls. I've negotiated deadhead. It's just, but if that's all they got in it and they don't want to go up, it doesn't matter what reasons you throw at them. So PC Miler is a free app that will give you the tolls, route, miles by state. It's free. It's called Mile On. Good deal. One of the drivers in the team runs Smart. Crew told me they weren't going to be at Matt's this year either. I expect Matt's to kind of be a little bit lower. A lot of people are cutting costs. A lot of people are struggling right now, and so I you're going to have, like, for example, Uber. Uber and Convoy have always had a large presence at truck shows. I mean, you should see the spread that they put out at GATS every year. Uber and Convoy, they were going in full force. And last year, I noticed that Uber was way scaled down. They weren't even giving away that many free things. Like, the year before, they were giving away blankets and, Yeti mugs and stuff like that. But this year, Convoy was a very small presence, and Uber was kind of like a kind of booth. And that was it. So I knew that they were, that they were cutting back. And so there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to be cutting back. And so we might have a backup plan to go up there. Jeff's working on something, but that isn't official yet. So it just depends. It's being at a truck show for a company is huge money. Like, I'm talking like 5-digit numbers for most things. Like the booths that got their whole truck in there, just the tractor, those booths are like tens and thousands of dollars just to have that display. And I don't even want to know what those big companies pay for that have the tractor and trailers in that one room, in that one wing, where they're showing, like the whole tractor and trailer, all the trailer, dealers and all that. And that's the other thing. Last year, PACCAR was scaled down. Cummins was scaled down. Cummins didn't even have their big, huge booth where you can go in and look at the engine. It was, the only thing I saw was them trying to sell, or not even sell, but advertise their hats and knives. Like they were in a case, and there was just a thing about Cummins and how cool it was, and that was it. It was a very scaled down version. So I expect to see a lot of that this year, all the way across the board. And companies aren't starving for drivers now. So, a lot of the recruitment booths, I think, are going to be scaled down, if not non-existent. So, Chief Freyhaar, from what I heard, Volvo and Mac aren't going to be there again, and a lot of others seem to be sitting out also. Yeah, that's just what I was saying, right? Sterling, what's up? The new background is good. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's less distracting, isn't it? And I still keep my family's privacy. So just because the Wyoming website says 80 is closed, it doesn't mean 80 is closed to super truckers. If the gates ain't down, it's open. True. The manufacturers are pulling away from trade shows this year. You'll see more social media instead, right? Because it's a lot cheaper. Because think about, like for example, let's use Thunder for example. There was usually about 6 to 8 people from Thunder that would show up. So you need hotel and flights for them because they're out of California or different parts of the country. And then you have food, which they spend a lot of money on food, I'll tell you right now. And then the amount for the booth, the amount for the swag to give away, like the T-shirts and the fly swatters and stuff that they gave away. And the Thunder booth was always cool because they had all the swag, but then they also had the coffee, free coffee. You can go up and get a coffee, hang out with Jeff or me. That's all expensive. I mean, for me, a truck show is expensive. I don't know if Jeff doesn't do something. I don't know if I'll be going because, I got to get a rental car, and that's anywhere from $500 to $600. I mean, I've got that, but will there be a reason to invest in that? That's the other thing, investment versus reward. And so you're going to see a lot of companies saying, you know what, we're going to sit this one out this year because of this, that, and the other. And so, sales are down for everybody. So, Jackknife says, basic PACCAR MX-13 warranty, comprehensive 500,000 miles, major components 250,000 miles. See, but here's the thing, for after treatment 400. Did you not know that before you signed the dotted line on buying that truck? That's the point I was making. You're making an investment of $180,000 or more than that after financing. So you're looking at $200,000 investment, and you don't read the fine print. You don't understand the warranty from head to toe. That's what I'm getting at. You have to look. Anybody who's looking out to buy a truck, know what you're getting into. For the love of God, know what you're getting into. Because if you don't, one day you're going to have a $10,000 repair that you think is covered under warranty, and it's not. And then you're out of business. Because the truck payment doesn't allow you to save back that much money. Boom. There you go. So, you know who got rich off of you? PACCAR, Kenworth, the company leasing you the truck. They got all their money. You're left out there in the cold. 2 years, 250,000 mile after treatment. Then you better get that extended if you plan to pay off that truck. If so many companies can't afford these major shows, I wonder if the organizers will ever reevaluate their own cost in order to lower the prices. That's a great comment, Mrs. A. And GAT's Great American Truck Show that was in Dallas is a definite no, because that was part of the problem. GAT's kept raising their prices, and attendance was going lower and lower. It was like this, and then COVID finally killed off. I mean, that was COVID pulled the plug on that transaction. And so because it was explained to me that the people that used to own the or used to run the convention center there in Dallas, they knew how to schmooze corporations to bring in trade shows, to bring in conventions. But then this new person came along and said, no more of that, no more schmoozing, up the prices. Next thing you know, the corporations were like, yeah, screw you, we're not going. And so when it came down to, do we use our budget for mats and GATs or one of them? Well, they chose mats because it's a bigger show. Am I in a closet? Maybe. Welcome back. Buy a food truck for $50K. Trucking is pretty servants. Only if you like to cook, right? As I just found out, the aftermarket warranty doesn't cover certain diagnostics and shop supply fees, so your deductible can end up being double. There you go. No, I didn't read the fine print. I'm pretty well versed in vehicle warranties just because of my dealership background, and just pretty much took the sales PACCAR Finance's word for it. So, in other words, you're saying that you knew better, but still didn't read it. In other words, you knew, like if you were well versed in vehicle warranties, you know that there's always things that slip through the cracks. You should have known that. So that actually makes that kind of worse, Jackknife. Jackknife is our punching bag today, but he loves us. So, still better than the full cost. I had it, but it was still a surprise, right? Yeah. Well, I'm glad you survived that. I might get a food truck and serve Steve some humble pie. He thinks he's all that now that he's vice president of like trucking. Oh yeah, I'm vice president of Squat. That's what I'm. My band, we never hit platinum or anything. We hit dirt, right? And then but yeah, so that's funny. I missed the beginning. Your background looks different. Very good. Welcome back. You're very observant. Blink twice if you need help, Snorelord. Blink 3 times if Jeff is a kidnapper. Oh man, that's funny. Nathaniel, good morning, brother. How are you? I'm doing all right. So we're going over low board stuff, and we're picking on Jackknife for his warranty skills, and yeah. So we're trying to come up with a plan for mats. So we'll see. But I'm not vice president. If I better see a top hat. I'm second. I'm second to I'm second to nothing, right? I mean, Jeff's the boss, so but it allows me the freedom to be at home and deal with stuff I've got going on at home, and so we do all right. You know, I can always buy a truck and get back into the game if I want. My credit's really good now that I've paid everything off. So screw it. I say we just get the drum off done, go viral, and live off of YouTube money. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, Thomas Wilson said that I'm trying too hard to be a YouTube millionaire. I'm not going to get rich doing it. But dang it, I want to prove him wrong. So, Sterling, I'm half tempted to just let Packard Finance have another lawn ornament in their repo yard and maybe take that union sheet metal apprentice position that I applied for. Yes, you should do that, Jackknife. Because are you making money? Do you have your numbers down where you could show your profit margin? What's your profit margin? 5, 6, 7 cents a mile? You know? Mrs. A says Steve becomes vice president, immediately becomes the monopoly man. I know, it's weird how that happens, right? Then, like I said, Sterling and I could probably buy some cheap dry van trailers and rent them out till all the owner operators when the market comes back for $300 a week. I'm trying to process that. So you're going to charge $1,200 for a cheap dry van a month to a bunch of owner operators that are already struggling in the market. I couldn't even keep my trailer full at $750 a month, so I sold it. My plan, I too had a similar plan, and I realized that it was a stupid ass plan for me, because there's a lot of drivers that don't take care of trailers. Now, the guy that had my trailer, he took care of it, you know, but I was also able to lay eyes on it as well because he parked it here in Springfield. But what I'm seeing from my experience, and anybody who's worked at Schneider and Landstar, does drop trailers, knows that drivers don't take care of trailers that are not theirs. They'll let tires rot. They'll let brakes go. They'll let lights flicker. They do not care. You put a scratch in the floor, they don't care. You know, they'll ride the trolley brakes, so the brakes on the trailer get worn out, not their tractor. So, I mean, and you're going to charge $1,200. Good luck keeping people under those trailers. If anyone wants to see how bad things are, glance at the truck auctions. That is true. I try not to dwell on that, though, because I've got successful owner operators that we're dealing with. And I've got quite a few I'm dispatching, so you know it's all right. But when you make mistake after mistake after mistake, you know, this market does not give. You know, when everything's like $4 a mile, you can make mistakes all day long and it won't affect you. But they're fixing that, right? They're fixing that. Cascade says director of deal with all the crap at Like Truckin' and YouTube. Do YouTube, deal with all the crap. I think your channel is great for newer drivers. Surprised you don't have more subs. I'm not surprised that I don't have more subs because, number one, I'm a very generic YouTuber. I'm not hitting all the analytics. I'm not doing all the hashtags. I'm very inconsistent. You know, it's hard to build a it's harder to build a channel based off of just live streams. I need to do more recorded stuff. My recorded stuff doesn't do well. And so, and I've been at this for a while. So yeah, I'm not surprised because I don't do what the big YouTubers do. So if that was meant as a jab at me, then it's okay because I don't focus on the numbers as much. Is it nice to make a little bit of money? Is it nice to have more people watching? Yeah, I've had up to 80 to 100 people in here during my live streams, and if my message gets out there, cool, but most of the time my message gets ignored. So I'm just literally just talking out loud, looking at low boards, helping people make hopefully more informed decisions. Whether it suits them or not, it's up to them. A lot of people complain, 1, 2, 3 low board, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. It's not the DAT board, but DAT board's got a lot of negative aspects to it as well. You just pay more money for it. So yeah, you're right. The channel is great for newer people that may not know a lot of the things that I've learned in the last, so many years of my existence, because before I was a driver, my dad was, and so it's been in my family for a while. So you got to read a little bit higher. There's it's an inside joke me and Sterling have about how easily guys let themselves be taken advantage of. It's satire. Oh, okay. They will bump other trailers all the time at Snyder. Yep. James G, what's up? Sterling, hard to be a viable owner-op between all the chaos and instability. Trucking seems to be a good couple of years, mediocre for a few, and then amazing for a year in between. So that's why, in my members-only feed, I talked about how, and I've mentioned it here as well, about if you can keep your costs down, you can survive any market. And it just depends on what your goals are, what your needs are. If you're trying to become rich, it's just like YouTube. It's hit and miss. But if you want above average revenue, you got to do above average things, and sometimes the conditions don't allow for that. Sometimes it's just a matter of survival, and so it depends on how much you want to. If you're a surfer, you got to know how to ride the waves, right? And then whether it's worth it to fight that or not, So it's the money is there, but just like any other business, like I go out and buy a food truck right now. Would I be successful at it? I don't know. It depends on my market. Depends on what food, how good of a cook, how good of recipes I have, where I place the truck. There's all these different things. And if everybody's not going out to eat because it's too expensive, which it is, then I'm going to struggle regardless of how good I do things. So and he who markets, he who owns the pickaxes and the shovels, they're the ones that are making money regardless of the market. That's how they set it up. The guy that owns the parking lot that I got to park my food truck in, that guy's making money. The guy that financed my truck, my food truck, they're making money. And I just got to prove to them that I got a worthy idea and a worthy plan. So, as of for my shovel to dig myself out of this new type of hole I got myself in, the only thing I could think of is possibly getting my authority so bound not only to Tyson Foods. That will be a mistake. I believe Sage did a video about doing some research. So, you need a current new list of the brokers that will take new authorities. And you're going to find even CH is not even on that list. You're going to find, I'm not sure what TQL is saying right now, but a lot of them are weeding out these new authorities. You're pretty much going to have to run for a small number of brokers for your first 6 months. And it's going to be tough. Three recorded videos a week for years will build the channel. That is absolutely true. and I'm horrible about that, which is why I want to be at 5,000 by the end of the year. By the end of 23, it looks like I may not even get there by the end of 24. So, as DIY would say, money. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. Maybe if I can get my revenue back up to where it was last year, 8,000 to 9,000 gross a week, I can succeed as long as the truck doesn't run into a pile of crap. That's the problem. Your truck payment is too high, and it's too unreliable. And you're counting. It's like, back when we were working minimum wage, and we're like, oh man, I can afford that as long as I get a good tax refund. But what if that tax refund never comes? Yeah, Tyson's the only carrier you can lease onto. It seems you put all of your eggs in that one lease basket. Right, and that's a bad idea. Jackknife, I think you'll have a hard time getting back that revenue being leased to a carrier that is competing with company trucks. Exactly. Well, no, it's not the only I can carry lease to. It's just the only carrier, at least in my area, that has consistent but slow, no well-paying dedicated freight. I can still work with them if I get my authority. In fact, they'll pay me an extra 10 cents a mile more, which ain't really much, but I'll have the ability to haul other loads if they're slow. Okay, so there's a little bit of flexibility there. Faith at 10 centimeters. Doctor just checked her. Should be within the hour for sure. Awesome. And you're on your way home. Hopefully it'll get loaded today. So if you're looking for YouTube success, you're going to need side boob. Gracious. Yeah, I know. Make sure it's a taco truck, just saying. Nathan, is leasing a truck to a carrier going away because March 11th? I hear things are going to change, and I understand if it's just lease purchase or all leasing. That remains to be seen. I know that TC Boggs was doing a video about it last night. I did not get a chance to watch that. I know others have talked about it, but I have a plan in place if that's the case. So I mean, it's there's going to look to the big carriers to see what they're doing. That's the way it's always been, is look to the big carriers, see what loopholes they're utilizing, how are they getting around whatever laws that they're worried about. That's how they realize that. And so, like, they're not worried about the speed limiter law. You know why? Because they've already improvised for that. They've already set their structures off of that. And why? Because maybe they see that that's coming down the line. So that would be, and I'm not a mega carrier, nor do I have access to one. So, it's going to change things, but also look at what happened in California. See how that was affected, and look to California carriers to see how they've gotten around that. So, Chief Freight, you're right about competing with Tyson drivers. Now they had tons of drivers come on board. In fact, they're running Penske trucks right now to keep up. So, Jackknife, let me ask you a question. Okay. Do you get detention or layover if you're held up at a Tyson plant? That's an important question, because I want to point something out to you that you may or may not know. Sterling says, congrats, Shannon. They're inspecting the new trailer. Yeah, I went to Chicago. I have to make it another 8 or 9 months, and second truck will be paid off. It's been rough. It cost me a lot, but it's all I have now. Let's see. James says, I didn't get my authority till the shipper asked me to get one. That's a good, and so all your eggs in that basket, but by having your own authority, you do have the ability to run spot if that goes away. But you had the customer before you had the authority, and that's a good way to do it. Because let's say you do that. Let's say someone wants to get their new authority, right? And they have a direct shipper. That's why they got their authority. So maybe they do that for a year or two. That puts time on their authority, and then that'll make it easier to get in the brokers if they have to use spot to utilize things. I have evaluated getting out, but a normal job pays a fraction of what I make now, even after paying for everything. Shannon says, yeah, I'm getting loaded now. Jackknife, why aren't you trying to refinance that truck to get the payment lower? Complaining about it isn't going to make it happen, says Oser. With both feet, good morning. Oser, I've tried to get it refinanced recently. I think of a lot of commercial finance companies see the writing on the wall and just expect all these trucks to end up at the repo auctions. Why would they want to jeopardize their business? Right? So the reason why that truck probably can't be refinanced is because you're going to be upside down in it for the ridiculous amount of money that you had to pay for that truck. See, that's the trick, right? If you put enough money down on a truck and you get the payments down to a reasonable level, and then possibly maybe even double up on the payments if you can, you've got flexibility, then you're less upside down, and you're upside down in that truck for less time. And so maybe after 2 years, you can get it refinanced. And then, but they won't refinance a truck if the truck's worth 150 and you still owe 180, guess what? They're not going to refinance that truck. But if the truck's worth 100, they'll and you owe 80, then yeah, they'll refinance it. But by then you probably don't even have a problem. So that's the thing. So if you buy a new truck, you're in it for 3 years, regardless. 3 or 4. It used to be 3 years. It was around the time that you started to be less upside down in the truck, depending on your financing, depending on your interest rate and all that. But now it's like more like 4 years, and you're still upside down in these new truck prices. So it's something to think about. Congrats, Shannon. Plenty of motivation to get home efficiently. Yes. Oser, hard to refinance a truck in this market. He probably owes more than his currency. I don't read ahead, guys. So Chief Freight Hauler agrees. Yep, interest rates will be higher. So I know that refinancing can be successful. I've seen it done, but also it depends on the original loan and the original amount of the loan. So I fly Thursday to Chicago, stayed in Rosedale for 3 days because I needed the service records on the unit before I purchased it. So I had the utility trailer service tech come out and inspect it. There you go. All the Megas already speed limit their trucks, right? Yes, a layover is $500. Detention is $40 an hour. Now, the next time you see a Tyson company driver, Jackknife, ask them if they get detention and layover. And the reason why I ask that is here's the deal. A friend of mine that was at KLM, he was on the Tyson account. And Tyson drivers had mentioned to him that they don't get detention or layover. So if that's the case, if they know that they're going to have to pay detention and layover, it's cheaper to put that on a company truck than on the lease op or owner op. Something to keep in mind. Right? So if you're going to a shipper, if there's a choice to put you at a shipper that's going to cost 10 hours or versus a company driver, it's going to cost them nothing, but they're going to sit there and take it, then who's the cheaper truck? Not you with your big truck payments. The company truck that's already, it's already in the system and they don't have to pay that guy detention or layover. Flatbed trucker, hello. TJ, what's up? Speed limiters are an inevitability. Safety and fuel economy always wins, plus slower trucks means more employed drivers. I purchased a 22 stainless steel spread axle for the new truck. It's a beautiful setup. We're going to put it in service in April. I'm excited. Good deal. Who really wants to get a real job? If you don't love trucking, just quit already. If you love trucking and always complain, just shh. Government wants more employees. The more W-2 employees generate more tax revenue. Government hates losing money and control. That is true. They're already speed limiting new trucks. The 3 dealerships I've been to will not set the truck over what the tire rating is. That's probably a liability thing, right? Either way, they'll make a speed limiter work, even if they have to request it. Tire manufacturers lower the tire spec speed down to comply. Mrs. A says, "Congratulations, Shannon, on the new grandbaby." Good morning. I'm definitely upside down. I have a 78K left, but worth about 30K. 2022 Freightliner Cascadia, about 400,000 miles on it. Ouch. Question is, commercial loans the same as a car loan when it comes to repos? If you have a truck repoed and auctioned, are you still responsible for the difference? I would assume so. It depends on the contract, Charles. We have a mutual friend that can answer that because he went through that. So I would talk to that person. You know who I'm talking about. So I was also only able to finance the truck for a 4-year term because the amount of down payment I can only put down and having 680 credit score at the time. Right. Which is why I talk about having good credit and money down to get a new truck or any truck, whether it used, new, doesn't matter, because of that very problem right there, of that very issue. Nobody needs to be going over 75 in a truck. I believe that's the current tire rating. Yes, I agree with that. Yes, it's a utility tray with a Thermo King unit, and it's shiny, very shiny. You can see yourself standing beside it. It's pretty. My dad had one of those. My dad had all stainless steel reefer trailer, custom. It was pretty nice. He was broke, but it was nice. So at least only 3 more years and it'll be paid off. The first year it's been so reliable, right? So imagine yourself doing what you're doing now, and the struggles that you have now, and the stress that you have now for the next 3 years. Are you looking forward to that? And then, so by the time the loan's up, the truck's paid off, it's worn out. Buck Brown, welcome to the machine. You got Pink Floyd in my head now. Thanks, Buck Brown. I used to work for Tyson. They told me they will never charge attention to their customers. That's why the drivers never received it. Wow, there you go. Speed limiters have nothing to do with safety. They'll be negative to safety. The data is clear on that. OIDA has shown that speed limiters are about the current administration in Washington and emissions. It's about money. The intention is always money. Even the ELDs. ELDs, it was about control and money. It's about being able to track all the movements. It was about having control over situations. What do they do when there's an emergency, like the vid or a hurricane? They take away the e-logs, right? They give you exemptions, right? Because they know they know how it affects freight. They know how it affects freight movement. But they want to control it. Oh, you need extra time for a hurricane? You only get it when we say you get it, right? And the speed limiters are the same way. Now, the mega carriers, they don't fight. They try to influence. So that's why, we're going to govern all our trucks. Fuel mileage shows that it's effective. And then we're going to create a trailer pool that allows us to be able to service these customers that other people can't because they're tied to ours, right? Think about all the relays, like FedEx. What is FedEx? A lot of FedEx running relays. Old Dominion, what do? They take a trailer from point A to point B, and another truck has a different trailer, point A to point B. And next thing you know, a trailer can get somewhere within, can do 1,000 miles in 24 hours, right? Without having a team. And it covers 2 loads, right? So they figured out, these hours of service, we got to do that. Now, in the old days, they'd say, okay, get it there by Tuesday. We don't care how how you do it. But they don't do that anymore. So, cool trucking. Hey, Steven gang, how's the retirement going? How's that trailer coming along? Speed limiters have been around for decades. Those white signs on the shoulder have been limiting speed. No need for another poorly written law, right? Yes, if that loan has recourse in the fine print, right? What is the average tire speed rating right now? I do not know. I think Ozer might say 75, yeah. $75 for most of the major manufacturers. Awesome. All right, so everybody's answering Sage. I found the party. Finally, how's it going? Trucking with MC, what's up? At least Jackknife is still fighting. Sure, he would have bought. Sure, he bought it at the wrong time. How would you know the right time? The market left him, not JK dropping the ball. So Tennessee, knowing. So Jackknife did not anticipate Tyson scaling back, right? But I've been, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I've been in this industry for a long time, a lot longer than when I was driving. That things are constantly volatile, whether you have your eggs in one basket or whether you're on the open spot market. There's a lot. I mean, if you go to the Facebook pages, there's a lot of owner operators that say, why are you guys in the spot market? Because it's too volatile to count on anything, right? So there's a whole mindset of owner operatorship that has nothing to do with the spot market. And let's say that I was able to get let's say I go to French's Mustard, McCormick, and I say, hey, I want to run your freight, and I negotiate a price, and so I go out and buy a truck based off that negotiated price. And now part of that negotiation would have to be fuel surcharge for fluctuations of fuel prices, and then market conditions. I don't want to be doing anything for, $2 a mile when everything's like $4. So there's got to be something in the contract to allow for that volatility. And so a lot of people make the assumption that, okay, it's refrigerated. People always got to eat. That's true. But there's also frozen warehouses. There's also processed frozen fruit that can sit in a freezer for a year and not be affected. So they have their warehouses, right? And the idea of because of COVID, what had happened was that cost of shipping got too high. The just-in-time thing failed. Now, when it comes to produce, you still get your just-in-time and all that. But then move in the immigrants, and that gets covered, right? So now, they're doing everything they can to take out the volatility. They don't want to pay $5 one part of the year and then $1 another part of the year. They want to do it even so they can count on the trucks. And so when looking for a new truck or a used truck, you have to take into account the volatility. I did not do that when I first got my first truck, even though I should have known it, because the company I worked for, we had good years and we had not good years. There were years where I was doing dedicated runs, not dedicated, but like you guaranteed that if you came out of the yard in Springfield, you're going up to Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, or Dallas. And if you were on the good crew, you were going out to LA, for the miles. So when I went to Landstar with my first truck, I did not count on the volatility, or else I would have worked completely different. And so my goal was to make it to where if I can just stay in a certain area and keep my costs within the parameters of the lows and highs of that area, then I know what to expect. It didn't take out the volatility, but it definitely kept it more even. Oh, my normal load to Ohio is now paying $200 or $300 less. So, and if it wasn't enough, I just stayed out a little bit more. But my cost never really exceeded. Now, if I had a huge repair like my turbo blew, well, then, I've got to improvise. So the ability to improvise is important as well. So, right. So, there's a lot of stuff that Jackknife probably should have done a little bit better. To not have the struggles that he has right now. So there's that. You're correct about how they are financing their equipment, and it's wore out by the time they pay it off, and you won't believe the hate we caught over deleting this truck. It's too smart. It's smart. Tennessee, the point is I know better. I was grasping at straws, perfect purchase with an assumption of the best outcome. Right. And that's the thing. Always assume the worst. And I bought my truck assuming the worst. My wife and I sat down and we said, what's the worst that can happen? Well, we'll take the house. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So we'll never finance part of the house to float my business. Never. And that also meant I wasn't going to buy a $200,000 truck. Now, I got lucky. Truck never had, I think I blew a turbo, and it took me a long time to recover from that. But at the same time, I had the credit going in. So if you have zero credit and you're dependent on one company for your truck and your loads, that's riskier than going to a bank, being able to finance a truck on your own, and being able to do any kind of freight, anytime, anywhere with it, because it allows you to improvise when the market goes bad. And it always goes sour. It always goes sour. Even Nomadic Brits talking about how tank freight has gone down. So freight always has cycles. Don't believe me? Watch Success in Trucking. Look at the charts that she shows on Freight Waves. Watch Freight Waves. Look at the past charts. Look at DAT's charts. Look at the trend lines. It looks like an EKG. It looks like, and it's always like that. So the idea is you got to insulate yourself as much as you can from the market volatility. And that's tough to do. It's just like the stock market, right? If you're doing the stock market, you can either invest in the stocks that pay over time, or you can get in the volatility of short trading, and where you have some winners and then you have some definite losers. And I think trucking works the same way. It's cyclical. And so what happens is you got people that have only been driving a year or two, and they're talking into lease purchases with bad credit and no experience in the trucking industry, and that's where the challenges come out of. With both feet, here's an article with info on speed ratings. 75. We will completely own the 579 brand new truck, and it's a glider pretty much with factory motor, but deleted, so it's pre-emissions motor now. We are running it to California. The only thing I can maybe hope on now is the Pottsville Titan facility is adding about 500 trailer spots and a bunch of other add-ons to the facility to make it an essential hub. Okay, but you got to put in your head, what if it doesn't? What if that does not generate more revenue? It's not a mod, but you can copy and paste. You got my email. I mean, I won't go over it today, but maybe you can email that to me. We can talk about it I could talk about it on a recorded video. haven't worked on the trailer in a couple of months, and we'll probably be on our new property in May. Well, congrats on the new property. Speed effects, tire wear dramatically. CRE limited trucks to 63 a while back and got an average of 18% further longevity versus trucks at 65. At the end of a 120,000 mile a year, that's money. So, with that being said, it goes back to what I said before, is these mega carriers are crunching numbers. They're analyzing everything, and they got the numbers and the resources to do that. And so they're looking to pinch pennies at every corner because they know how volatile things could get. You know, the Schneiders and the JB Hunts, and you know, they all know they were there in the beginning, right? They were there in the early days of trucking. And they figured out how to build their company, but they also had to figure out how to stay on top. And then bigger companies like JB Hunt have figured out how to manipulate the market. If you manipulate the market, you don't have to adjust to adapt to it, right? You don't have to adapt if you can create it. That's what JB Hunt did with the intermodal. They recognized, look, JB Hunt recognized years ago, JB Hunt recognized that it is tough keeping truck drivers on an OTR status because they wanted home time, and trucks that need a lot of home time don't make money. So you know what they did? They changed their whole platform. In other words, to be able to attract drivers that want to work Monday through Friday or a 5-day, 2-day off, 5-day on, 2-day off. Okay, they learned that from the day cab companies like Old Dominion and all that. They worked more regionally, so you're not having to go from Pennsylvania to California. So if they can just work in a specific area, like, I don't know, a 300-mile radius of Chicago, then it's like having a regular job. So driver turnover goes down. And they're not putting as much wear and tear on the trucks. And they have complete control over how and when that freight. And so if the driver's willing to be flexible, you know, and wants to stay out an extra 2 days, they can do that. But for the most part, they recognize that there were current struggles that kept them from keeping drivers, and it kept them from recruiting new drivers. And so let's make this as much as a weekly job. So now you're not living in the truck. You know, you got a bed and maybe a microwave and some food. But beyond that, you're not having to have 2 weeks worth of food or clothes in there, right? So it made it easier. And now JB Hunt's one of the biggest companies out there. And so they've done the math on the tires, right? And so it saves them fuel, it saves them wear and tear, it saves them on tires. And it's more stressful to a driver knowing that they have to drive a full 70, 75 miles an hour to get to where they need to go to make the delivery on time. Whereas a governed truck under ELD rules, hey, you put me on a 12-hour drive, that ain't going to happen because the shipper took too long. You just, like, that's what it is, and they can't do nothing about it, but they've adjusted for that already. That's what you're up against as a single owner operator, especially a single truck authority. Is you're competing against that. Thanks. I was just asking, giving another thing to think about. I'm not in a position for repo. It's just a thought to consider when looking at buying or wanting to get out of a truck. With both feet, inflation is key to speed rating. Also, less PSI equals less speed. $10. Thank you for the super chat. As usual, Snorelord, this is great content, and you're helping out a lot of people doing these lives. I try, but that one guy says that I need to be humbled. So that's good. I do. We don't have to worry about breaking behind sensitive sensors and computer programs designed to take money from you. So I love the old iron. They're reliable, but we have reliable in the new one now. So that's good. We have to order a C16 Caterpillar manifold for our ISX-15 Cummins to replace the factory with some massive engines. Tire article about speed ratings below. All right, thank you, Sterling. We'll have to get into that. So yeah, someone email that to me, and we'll get into that more depth. Don't get too glass half empty. I'm not. I'm just real, right? If you don't have a good plan, just like any other business venture, if you don't have a good plan and you don't account for the like, you can't account for everything. You can't account for the black swan events, but you can at least say, hey, what if the economy tanks? What if this happens? What if this happens? And most of the time, if thinking about those things brings anxiety, then there's a reason. So you have to focus on that and say, okay, well, like, for example, my wife had this thought that maybe we'd lose the house. So I structured the business where that would never happen. And so that's not a glass is half empty approach. That's a real approach, because you know how many people I know that ruin their lives because they went into a business, regardless of what the industry is, because they didn't do the research? Why do you think I don't open my record store? Because I've done the research. It's not going to make me any money. It's not going to help my family. And so that's not me being negative. That's me going, until I can find a spin that sets me apart from the other record stores here in Springfield, then it's not worth doing. And when you got people that don't even track their numbers, that work off emotion, these number crunching mega carriers have figured it out. Speed limiters, they're not worried. AB5 law, they're not worried. And if they are worried, they're going to send in lobbyists to make sure that does or does not happen. See, that's the thing. They have control. They have power. And so you want to be a single truck owner operator? I've been there. I've done that. But I recognize what the market's done. I've been in this market longer than Cascade. I've been in this market long enough to know that, because the struggles I saw with my dad, and most of my dad's struggles were financial, his own financial management, and because he put all his eggs in one basket. So I've learned to recognize this thing to do or not to do. There are people on our fleet that are making good money and they're happy. They're not destroying their lives or they're destroying their health. They're in a good place, and they're helping the company to grow. And then we've had drivers quit because they couldn't afford their repairs, whether it be an outside circumstance or an inside or their own money management. Or they didn't account for the volatility of what the spot market is. When I went from Landstar to Snyder, the appeal to Snyder, because I had my own truck, was not their lease purchase deal, but was the fact that their freight did not slow down, that much. And Jeff was able to prove it with his numbers by showing me 4 or 5 years of data of each quarter being less than 10% difference on what he made for each quarter. He had the numbers, he had the program to track the numbers. I didn't just take his word for it. And I went to Snyder to reduce the volatility of what I was dealing with at Landstar, because Landstar was feast or famine. So going into the spot market, coming out of my little security blanket of Snyder, I recognized that I was going right back into volatility. And because of that, I made some adjustments to make sure that things were in place so I could minimize, not completely delete, the volatility, because I knew that when everything was high, all the rates were really good, I knew what the other side of that looked like, and I knew that it was going to take out a bunch of people. And it did. So, and the reality is if you're out there working and you're smart with your finances and you're good at improvising and you've got the right mindset, you can survive any market. That's not a glass half empty. Preparing for the worst and trying to achieve the best. That's how you make it in any business. I don't care if it's selling greeting cards, a food truck, or running an owner operator. Now, Cascade had a lot of expenses on his truck. That's not what took him out. He was able to pay for those expenses. And a lot of people wouldn't have survived what Cascade survived. And, but he was out there working as well. He lost time with his family. He was on the road more than I think he wanted to when the rates started to lower. But he had no choice. So it's not a glass half empty. It's what do you have? If the glass has got water in it, what do you do with that water, right? And prepare for the times when that glass is empty. But also be prepared if the glass is full as well. What do you do with that? Do you save some back? You don't just pour the water out like, oh, sweet, it'll fill up again, no problem, right? No. If you're walking through the desert, you know that you have to hoard as much water as you can because you don't know when you'll get another chance. Back in the old trucking days, there were signs on the interstate that said, last chance for fuel for 500 miles. Because you had to prepare. And that's the thing. Smart drivers always assume the worst. Smart man. Okay, bye. Y'all daughter needs me outside the shop or something. I'll put it this way: I could probably make it, but not if the truck's breaking down, right? And so that's the thing with these new trucks. Yes, they're new and they got killer warranties, but can you survive the downtime? Because it's coming, and it's statistically the engines are more reliable. It's everything else that's less, especially trucks that were made during the COVID shutdowns. And it used to be that if you had 50 grand in the bank that you can cover an engine breakdown, no problem. Like if the engine completely blew its top, you were good to go. But that changed during COVID, right? I talked to a driver and owner that at Kenworth. I was at Kenworth. I saw his invoice. $38,000 for a new Cummins crate engine. That same engine right now is like 60 grand. That's almost double of what it was. Oh no, that's not almost double. That's what, 40% more? The point is that there was a time where the engine rebuild, the in-frame, that was what you had the big money sent back for. But these DPFs and the sensors and the computers and the way they diagnose trucks, that's what's breaking people right now. Even if you can do your own work. You want to do your own work with your own computer? That costs thousands of dollars too. And so that's not a glass is half empty. That's, wow, I have a glass of water. What can I do with this? And if everybody keeps trying to take all the water, then what do you got left? These trucks will break down. Will. Why do you think I sold my truck, guys? Because I knew it was going to start giving me some major nickel and dime because I had such good luck with it for the first 4 years. And then the fifth year, it's like, oh, I know you don't got a truck payment now, but guess what? 25 in 1 year. Now, Cascade has done as close as 40 in 1 year on his truck. And if you don't have a killer warranty on any truck with new or used, guess what? That could easily happen Because you go to one dealership, they diagnose it as this. That costs $3,000. And then the same problem exists. So you go to the next dealership. Oh, we'll change this too. That's another $3,000 or $4,000. And then 100 miles later, that problem, the check engine light comes on again. So the next dealership diagnoses. Then the next dealership, next thing you know, you're $15,000 or $20,000 into what was probably a simple repair had they diagnosed it correctly. Where in the old days, if the turbo blew, you knew it. If the compressor went out, you knew it. If the water pump went out, you knew it. You did a test on the engine to make sure everything was good. Boom, done. No sensors, none of that. So the engine rebuild is the least of your worries. As long as you're maintaining the engine, the oil, if something majorly goes wrong with the engine, if you got the warranty, then you're good to go. But if not, you're looking at $60,000. Those are the three worst words in trucking, up to and if. If you can make it up to X amount of dollars, and if we do this, if that, I can make it right. That is exactly true, Tennessee. When I hear an owner-operator tell me that, I'm like, oh, no. Because if they go, well, if the market will just turn around, I can make it. Well, what if it doesn't? So what I do in my head is I go, okay, so who's making it regardless of the market? Okay, let's talk to so-and-so. We'll talk to this person. They can tell you what you need to do, or what they're doing at least to survive, right? Maybe their market's not even struggling. Maybe they're insulated from it. That's the thing. The truck payment, insurance, health insurance, and maintenance account is about $1,400 a week. I have to put away before I get paid. I've been lucky to get 2,000 miles a week. Depending on the lanes, I usually average $250 to $280 a mile, including detention, etc. I don't pay reefer fuel. I get reimbursed for tolls. So I have a $2,000 toll bill I have to hold on to for a month. But that's why if mega carriers can't get the outcome they want from the drivers, they will force the outcome. As mega carriers can't get the outcome they want from their drivers, they will force the outcome through idle shutoff, lockouts, speed limiters, and cameras. Right. They don't want liability. They put the cameras in the truck. I mean, talk to an Amazon van driver, like not the big vans, but like the little delivery vans. They can't even, they get a point taken off for putting their hand on a cup of coffee. Like, they literally have to be 12 and 2 the whole time before they get, and there's a camera watching on everything. There's a sensor for everything. There are sensors that can sense when your hands are on the steering wheel. So you guys that are using the back scratcher to go in the, trying to reach something out of your reach while driving, the cameras are going to see that. And I know you've all done it. I know you've all done it. All of you. Mark Ely says, I would like to see JB and Megas go union. Yeah, you saw how that happened. You saw that with that outcome for UPS. And this is how much research you have to do if you want to be. Look, I'm all about capitalism. I'm all about someone getting in a truck and making money. But you got to be on your A game to figure it out, or at least have the flexibility to not let it take you out while you are learning. Because UPS is one of the biggest companies in the world, and they're laying off people. That's the kind of market that trucking is, and they're not in the spot market, right? So that's the kind of, Coyote, their division of Coyote is, but the two articles that we talked about, Coyote and also C.H. Robinson, the upper people took it for granted, the volatility. It's not that volatile. Well, guess what? It is. Even Coyote and Sage Robinson have been taken by surprise on the volatility of the market. That's what you're getting into. I don't care if you're doing dedicated Tyson account or running 20 different brokers a week. That's the volatility that trucking is. If the only thing constant in trucking is change. It's always changing. Don't like something in trucking? Wait 5 minutes. See if it gets better. And more likely, it'll be better for someone else. Realism is good. You have to know the accounting of any business, says Cascade. A trucking business is less about trucking automatics and steering wheel drivers holders now and more about calculated financial decisions and who you know connections you make. Right. Very rarely the best decision to dig yourself out of debt is to go into more debt, especially without a foolproof plan and have multiple ways to succeed. But yet that's what you did. Make do with a smaller glass. Doesn't matter if it's half full or empty. There you go, Sterling. I like Sterling. He's a good friend. So yeah, average of $56.85 per month in repairs over 3 years. So how many of you can survive that? Cascade did that. Yeah. It was quite a bit. You know, Chief Freight Hauler says, wow, that's a lot. And yeah, that's true. Now, a lot of people say, well, if he can get into a new truck, and I'm thinking, man, think about this. If you get a new truck for $2,500 a month, or even $3,000 a month, you're cutting your cost in half. As long as the truck's under warranty, based off of that. And so, if you're surviving at $56.85 a month, and you reduce your payments down to $3, well, guess how much you can put back for the incidentals that aren't covered under warranty. But then it also gives you flexibility when the truck is down and your family needs to eat. So, you know, my International 9400 was up to $1,500 a week until the motor blew. If you're calculating the cost of repairs in less than a year, $25,000 into a $7,000 part. So it's not about glass is half empty, right? It's about knowing those things that most people don't know, that most people don't realize. They think they get in the truck and they're good to go. What Willie says to dealers, ripoff. Dealers like to load up on the parts cannon and keep firing until the check engine light goes out. And recognize. Look, that's the new normal now. If you own a new truck, that's what you're dealing with, and so you have to insulate yourself from that. There's no changing that. And you know how the megas deal with it? They got extra trucks. They've got mechanics that can throw all this stuff at. They're not dependent on the dealerships. I mean, some are. Like my local company I was with, they were dependent on the dealerships for the warranty work. But they had done business in a certain way that they were insulating themselves. I mean, think about what a full maintenance lease is for a single truck operator if you can get one. You're literally taking that check engine, like what Chief Freight Hauler said, parts throwing. You're literally taking that out of the equation. Especially if you get a lease, a full maintenance lease that says, hey, we'll put you in a new truck if we can't figure this one out, right? And so what have you done? You've insulated yourself from that part of the machine that takes a lot of owner-operators out. See? It is possible. That's how you do it. And and coincidentally, full maintenance leases are harder to get than just going to a carrier and saying, lease me a truck. Why is that? That's how any industry is. It's crazy that your truck is worth only $35, but your repair bill is $50. And see that was what I was going into that territory, Kenworth had given me a quote of 15 or 17K for my truck. And I was not about, and I knew that I was heading down the same path Cascade was. So whether I was going to if I was going to stay driving, I was going to get another truck anyways, but I didn't want another 4 or 5 year commitment because I knew eventually I wanted to get out of the truck. And so I bought my Kenworth knowing that that was going to probably be the last truck I buy. And so when it came time to look, we better sell it or it's going to get worse, then I did. I waited about a year too long. Why? Because I was realist and I didn't know where I stood with trucking. Okay, so here's how my mind works, okay? If I sell my truck, it's no longer the safety net. The safety net of, let's say the safety thing and this dispatch thing goes south and I stay on with truck and I can at least run my truck, right? That safety net prevented me from working a little bit harder on the dispatch and safety because it was a safety net, right? So that was problem number one. Well, so I looked at myself and I said, okay, so obviously I need that safety net. So what can I do to put in place of that safety net? What steps can I make to alleviate those concerns? They weren't fears, they were just concerns, right? Jeff could close the authority. Jeff could call me and say, Steve, you're not doing a good enough job. F you. It could be a number of those things. So what I did is I made myself more valuable within the company. So I tried to do that. The next thing I said, what happens if Jeff just closes the doors one day? Well, I've made connections and relationships with people that will put me in a truck, whether as a lease operator or an owner operator or a company driver. I've got those in place. And then I realized that my safety net, I could do air quotes now and the green screen won't mess it up. My safety net was me, my relationships. My safety net of the truck was getting worse and worse because plastic wears out, rubber wears out, and DPF goes bad just sitting, right? DEF goes bad just sitting. I realized, you know what? I need to, if I'm not going to run any miles on that truck, I need to sell it before it's worth nothing. Before I have to, you can have it for a tow bill. So I recognize that because it was holding me back and it was becoming unreliable as the safety net. So once I had certain things in place, that's when I sold the truck. I tried keeping the trailer. I tried leasing that out. But market conditions made that difficult, and I realized that maybe I didn't want that stress because of the cost of tires, because of the cost of brakes, because of the cost of maintenance. There is maintenance on a trailer. People say, oh, there's hardly any maintenance on the trailer. Well, tell that to the Schneider guy that's sitting there at Walmart right now looking at a trailer with 2 flat tires who might be listening to this, right? There is maintenance on a trailer. And I've seen the bills that Jeff has had to pay for lease trailers that are turned in. So there is maintenance, right? And if the truck pulling my trailer is down and he's having trouble keeping his truck on the road, then my trailer's not making any money. Therefore, I'm not making any money to put the financial backing into the maintenance, repair, and the taxes of that trailer. So I sold it. Could I go out tomorrow and buy a new truck and trailer? Absolutely. Would I? That's a different story. Not with what my home needs are, not with what I'm dealing with. But I recognize the people that want to stay out there and keep fighting. I want to help them fight as much as possible. So I help them find the loads. I give them information when I can. I tell them the experience that I've learned the hard way. And that's what this channel is about. But I was looking at $35,000 to $40,000 of a new turbo. of probably a new compressor. I mean, and the truck was running fine. No engine lights whatsoever when I sold it with a fairly new clutch. So that truck was going to be the truck was in good condition, but I knew it was a matter of time because of Murphy's Law. And with it being a 2014, I knew that parts are going to be a little bit harder to find. And the MX-13s on the DPF and those older engines, wasn't as great. And I already spent a ton of money on that stuff. And I knew that was going to come down the line, especially with DEF being in there, the DEF fluid in there being old. So it was just time. And I didn't need the truck anymore. Once I convinced myself I didn't need the truck anymore, that's when I sold it. It wasn't a safety net anymore if I'm worried about it every time I turn the key. All I was doing was putting hours on the APU to keep the batteries fresh. That's all I was doing with that truck. It's that you cannot rely on the computer diagnosis system, and when you start seeing weird things show up in the readouts, it's time to get the Blue Point multimeter out and start wiring sensors. My last truck cost me between $27,000 and $38,000 per year in repairs, and it wasn't even an old truck. It was a 2015 I bought in 2020 with 440 on it. Had it 3 years. There you go. And so you took that, and you changed that. You changed that, right? Cheaper to run a new truck versus a used truck in the long run if you have enough freight and your personal finances allow the risk. There you go. That's it. That is such a simple concept that escapes most people. And everybody that's done the math knows that math is true. However, for most people, getting a brand new truck straight out of the gate is very difficult because of the financing, especially if you don't have dedicated or some kind of freight that you can count on. And so therefore that doesn't happen. Oh, hold on, dog wants out. Let me fix something here. Ha, that worked pretty good. I can still see that the dog needs out, and I can see when he needs in. I just got to move the screen, and we're good to go. Mark Ely, I'm running dedicated. I lost one of my runs, 3,400. Poof, gone. Thin air, smoked. Right? Yeah, once it hit 550, it was downhill from there. And I once said on a live feed that trucks start nickel and diming you after 500,000 miles, and I got ridiculed for that. I'm like, that's when mine started to do it. That's when everybody else has started to do it. And next thing you know, it happened to them as well. So the idea is you run the truck with the warranty, keep your payments as manageable as you can, account for the incidentals, make sure you read your warranty paperwork to make sure you know what you think is covered, and then when you figure out what's not covered, save for that. Because everything is engineered to go at a certain time. Everything is engineered. They don't want your trucks lasting 1 million miles with problem-free. They don't want that because they don't make money off that. The whole video about PACCAR's financial records, profit records, is proof of that, right? Jack Knife says the problem is they have 2,000 trucks, always bring profit in, and their other businesses within their business, lease purchases, brokering freight, etc. There's always profit to cover losses, right? So shouldn't you do the same thing? Shouldn't you have other streams of income? Shouldn't you have a plan in place to cover losses? Because the megas are doing that. When should we cut a truck loose because of repair bills? If the repair bills exceed for what you can get a different truck for. Now, if you get another used truck, you could run into the same problems. So you want to get into a used truck with a good warranty or a new truck with a good warranty. And if your repair costs exceed the amount that a warranty truck payment would be, now throw in your maintenance for that as well, then it's time to let it loose. And that's why I sold my truck. If I was continuing in the spot market right now, I would have traded that truck in 2 years ago. And knowing that I was going to need another 4 years. Because I knew what was coming down the line. Not because the truck wasn't indicating anything, but because I knew that Murphy's, it's just the law of nature. So, yeah, and then Cascade just said what I said, yeah. Now, if you have $5,000 worth of repairs a month, it does not make sense to get in a truck that's $5,000 a month. Right? If you have $5,000 worth of truck repairs and you get into a $2,500 payment, then you're good to go. The problem is catching that before that happens, because if you just throw down $60,000 in 1 year on a truck repairs, well, now you have no extra maintenance money to put down towards another truck. So it's a catch-22. So you got to catch it early. Everybody's answering the question, so I'm going to skip all those. The Hool says if it has wheels, brakes, and doors, it'll cost you money. That's true. I'll take you on if you need a safety net. There you go. Another contact. Thank you, James G. I appreciate you. Diagnosis tool is an aid. It's not a fix-it. Right. And there are a lot of people that buy the diagnostic tool and they use it as a Band-Aid. Well, I'll turn the light off so I can finish this load. And, 3 months later, they're wondering why they have a major repair. There you go. That's it, the Hool. The Hool's got it right there. There's a reason why. Look, this guy from Sweden, he knows. There's a reason why the big boys cycle their trucks every so many years and so many miles. And so the manufacturing part of trucking recognizes that. They want to sell new trucks to the mega carriers every 300,000 miles over and over and over. That's millions upon millions of dollars. They don't care about you as a single truck owner operator. So when you come in and you got $40,000 for repair, they don't care. Pay the bill. Or we'll tow the truck out of here. We'll charge you for that too. Whereas the mega carrier, you're like, well, crap. But they're going to recognize it before it ever gets to that point. Why? Because they'll get rid of it. Volvo said 4,000 trucks on launch day when they unveiled their iSave feature to the existing platform. I don't know what that's about. Since the vid, parts and labor exploded in cost in the USA, but also in Europe. Now parts are coming slightly down in cost, but labor costs still keep rising. Right? When you buy a used truck, look at the hours, not the mileage. If the velocity is below 40 mile per hour, stay away. The emissions will kill your budget. And those on here that say delete it, say that to the one truck operators that are in jail today. The articles are out there. Yes, we have a local guy here in Springfield that is dealing with. They keep setting his cars on fire as a tow truck company. Getting a truck is like getting married. The wrong specimen will cost you a lot of money. If I can keep my truck to 650K, I'm good. My fingers are crossed and a couple of Hail Marys. As for companies that we see 379 Peterbilts driving down the road, all new looking, they have their own shops and they literally pull the trucks apart down to the frame and rebuild. If it's cost effective, that's what they're going to do. You have depreciation and all that white collar stuff. No one keeps their rigs for 20 years anymore. Here they run for a couple of years and it ends up on export in the end, right? In Mexico and South America will take all those trucks. So, anyways, a lot to think about. I mean, we've gone marathon level here, and I apologize if you hate long replays, but we've had a lot of good discussions. So, look, I don't know anything other than what doesn't work, right? I don't have any secret to success other than just the basics. Keep your costs down, expect volatility. Retailers have known this for years. And guess what? This economy's taken out major retailers. So, and that's what you're dealing with. What can you do in a bad economy? What can you do with a good or bad market? And it's going to be the same. If you handle each market the same and learn to improvise when you need to, the point is you want as much control as you possibly can. And that's the key. When you have the control, having a $5,000 a month truck expenses is not control. It's something either by your own hand or by somebody else's hand is becoming out of control. And if it's the market, you adjust the market. If it's the person that owns the truck leasing it to you, then you have to adjust that. It's as simple as that. I'm a pretty simple person. You can look at freight waves and you can look at DAT and you don't have to study the analytics to know that trucking is volatile, regardless if it's spot, dedicated, contract. Jeff doesn't go after contracts because he knows how volatile contracts can be. Jackknife knows how volatile contracts can be. So just because your contract or dedicated doesn't mean that there's not volatility there. So you have to account for everything. And there are people that have been, in business for a long time, even during the vid, that learned how to improvise and survive. And that's the secret. And Sterling's pointed out the economy is thriving. Most of us are on the wrong side of it. So take that to heart. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see you Wednesday. 48065 if you want to check out the 123 low board. And don't know if I'll be at Matt's yet. That remains to be seen. I'm going to go over a few things. And but I'm not going to sit here and beg for sponsorships or anything because I don't know if I want that kind of pressure. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns to screws. Simplify. Common sense. See ya.